Namaste, Sitaram, a pleasant good morning. Welcome to Rudraaya. I'm your host Nisha Sharma, and Rudraaya is being brought to you with the kind compliments of Maharujadip Mandir. And of course, our Mandir is located at 850 Tapscott Road, Unit 34 in Scarborough, with Tapscott and McNichol being our closest intersection. So as I've been saying to you over these past weeks, summer is here, but it's not going to be here for too long. So I do hope you have some great plans for today, which of course includes taking a really long walk to enjoy this beautiful weather and perhaps a long drive as well. Without further ado, we'll get straight into our pravachan with our spiritual leader, Pandit Ravi Sharma. Enjoy.
Prem se bole Shri Umapati Mahadev ki jai. Dear devotees, the age that we are living in, indeed, it is called as Kali Yuga. At the end of the Mahabharata, Yudhishthir was crowned as the king, and so he was ruling Hastinapur righteously after the Kurukshetra war. One day, Bhagavan Krishna visited Hastinapur. Yudhishthir was at the court, and other Pandavas, the other four brothers, they came and started having conversation with Bhagavan Krishna. Krishna indicated that he hopes that everyone indeed is faring well. Whenever Krishna would come, there would be conversations about dharma. And so, Yudhishthir begins to ask of Krishna, now that dharma is dominant, how will Kali Yuga continue to be? Will dharma be sustained? How will the life of people be affected in Kali Yuga without dharma? Arjuna asked of Krishna. Krishna, he smiles. It is not that easy to explain. Better let me demonstrate to you all about the life of people in this Kali Yuga. And saying so, Krishna, he took a bow and he stringed 4 arrows and he shot them in 4 different directions. Now Arjuna and the other Pandavas, go and bring back the arrows to me. It is said that 4 brothers were sent in the 4 directions. Each one of them, they went in the different direction in search of the arrows. When Arjuna, he picked up on the first arrow, he heard a very sweet voice. He heard a cuckoo sing in a charming voice. Mesmerized, he stood listening to the whole song of the cuckoo. When he looked up for the cuckoo, he was shocked to see that the cuckoo singing and at the same time eating the flesh of a live rabbit. The rabbit was crying in agony. He was astounded to see such an act by a divine bird. He left the place wondering why such a divine cuckoo would do something that is so cruel. The next person to reach for the arrow was Bhima. Bhima picked up the arrow where 5 wells were situated. One widespread single well was in the center, surrounded by 4 wells. The 4 wells were overflowing with sweet water, as if they were not able to hold the water. But surprisingly, the big one in the center was completely empty. Puzzled at the sight, Bhima left for the palace. Nakul, who had found an arrow. Already while on his return to the palace saw a cow which was about to give birth. He waited to see the cow and the calf's condition after the birth. After giving birth, the cow started licking the calf, but to his surprise, the cow did not stop licking. Continued licking even after the calf was clean. With deep difficulty, he was confused, and so Nakul wondered that such a behavior from such a calm animal. He returned towards the palace, pondering on the behavior of the cow. Sahadeva, when he picked up the arrow which fell near a mountain, he saw a big boulder falling. The boulder was fallen or coming with full speed, uncontrollable. It was destroying, crushing everything on its way down. But the boulder was stopped by a small plant along the pathway. Sahadeva was stunned at the sight. The boulder, which crushed big trees and demolished rocks into pieces, was stopped by a small plant. He rushed towards the palace to ask about the reason for such an act. And so the four Pandavas returned towards the palace and they explained what they had seen. They sounded surprised, confused, and startled and asked for explanation from Krishna. Krishna smiles and started explaining towards the Pandavas, Arjuna, what you saw of how the cuckoo itself was singing sweetly, but yet eaten, the rabbit, is a relationship between those who holds high positions in Sanatan Dharma, between the priests and the devotees, will happen in Kali Yuga. The priests indeed will have very sweet voice and great knowledge, but they will exploit devotees in the very same way that a cuckoo sings sweetly, but exploited the rabbit. He turns towards Bhim and said, Bhim, what you saw is how wealth will be in Kali Yuga. The poor will live amongst the rich. The rich will have massive amounts of wealth, which will keep increasing and overflowing, but they will not offer even a single penny towards many of the poor ones. They will waste the money for themselves as if they will continue to gain more and more, not sharing it with those who are needed. Just like how the four wells were overflowing while the center one was empty. Krishna, he looks at Nakul. Nakul, what you see and how the cow was licking at the calf and not stopping even though blood was oozing from the calf. In Kali Yuga, many parents will be like these cows. They will love their children so much that even this love will destroy their lives, their dreams, and even the future of their children. And Sahadeva, what you saw indeed is how people will live in this Kali Yuga. People will fall in the terms of character. They will come crushing like huge boulders, destroying everything along their pathway. Just like the boulder, they will come crushing, not listening to any type of good advice. They will become unstoppable. They won't follow even the path of Dharma. But when they get to know what they have done is against Dharma, when they realize that all that they have done are selfish acts, then they will call upon God for help. They will be stopped from falling further down like the plant that stopped this boulder. They won't get hurt and they won't be broken into pieces. Hence, just one call upon God's name is like this plant that will help them and hold them from this doom. Just as the small plant saved the boulder from falling further, similarly also, God's name is like this plant that will stop and help us to achieve our goal. May the blessings of the Lord be upon each and every one of you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi, Harihi Om.
चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम 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 चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम 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 ओंकार जपा चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम 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 प्रात समय के सुख दिलाने संध्या के पुलकित रचनी में प्रात समय के सुख दिलाने संध्या के पुलकित रचनी में रोम रोम से निकला तेरे ओंकार जपा राम 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 चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम 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 गहरा सागर दूते नैया जीवन धरनी ओम की बेया गहरा सागर दूते नैया जीवन धरनी ओम की बेया पार करेंगे ओंकार जपा राम 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 ओंकार जपा चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम 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 चंचल मन नित ओंकार जपा राम राम राम.
My dear viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this morning's pravachan, and of course, as you know, even though we're up and about, and I know everybody has gotten their second vaccination by now, we will still remain closed to the public at Maharujdev Mandir, just to be on the safe side. But what we are open to is private bookings. So if you'd like to book a private prayer with Pandit Ravi, just yourself and maybe a couple of family members, as well as a private event, a small event, of course, we are going to be obeying the capacity limit. So please reach out to us, and we would be happy to book that private appointment with you to come to the mandir and, perform your prayer, or just to be in, the atmosphere, of course, here is so, it's so uplifting. So we know that you missed that. So if you'd like to, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to book a private appointment for you to come and meet with Pandit. Without further ado, we'll get straight into our health segment with our own Dr. Sachin Ramkisoon.
Sitaram, and welcome to Health Corner. I am Dr. Sachin Ramkisoon, and this is the 4th episode in our 7-part series on diabetes. Last week, we spoke about the risk factors for developing type 2 diabetes. We also highlighted the fact that South Asians and West Indians are at a higher risk for developing this disease as compared to the rest of the North American population. This week, we will be discussing who should be tested and how this testing is done. The family physician is always your resource to routine screening for diabetes and other health conditions. The Canadian Diabetes Association recommends that everyone over the age of 40 be tested every 3 years for diabetes. If you have any of the risk factors for type 2 diabetes, then you should be tested both earlier and more frequently by your family physician. Since these risk factors are very important to know, I will summarize them again. Having a first-degree relative with diabetes, being South Asian, West Indian, Aboriginal, Hispanic, or African descent, anyone over the age of 40, being obese, especially around the abdomen, having high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or heart disease, a history of having a large baby over 4 kilograms, having polycystic ovarian syndrome, and having a history of gestational diabetes. There are different types of tests that are performed for diabetes screening and monitoring. Some of you may already be familiar with some of these tests. The most common screening tool is a fasting blood test. This measures your fasting blood glucose level, and based on these results, your physician can tell you what category you fall into. If your fasting levels are normal, then there's no need for concern, and you continue to screen once every 3 years. If you have high blood glucose levels, then you are diagnosed as being diabetic. Those in the moderate zone are considered pre-diabetic and require more frequent monitoring to see if they progress into the diabetic level. Usually, these blood tests also look at a specific protein called the hemoglobin A1C. If you are diabetic, you may have seen this test in your blood work. This protein level gives the average of your blood glucose levels for the past 3 months and is therefore regarded as a more accurate indicator of your long-term blood glucose control. If you are diabetic, then self-testing at home is an important tool. You should test your blood glucose with a glucose meter every day and record these levels down for review by your family physician. There are many logs that are available, but the Canadian Diabetes Association has a great log for you to record your target levels before meals and 2 hours after meals. This information is essential to your physician when trying to determine if your medication and lifestyle activities are controlling your diabetes. Next week, we will discuss the many important complications of diabetes and highlight why blood glucose control is so important. Feel free to contact me with requests and comments at maharudradevmandir@gmail.com. Thank you for joining me on Health Corner, and I look forward to speaking with you again next week on Rudraaya.
Ubhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana Bhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana Bhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana Narayana Hari Narayana Narayana Hari Narayana Ubhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana Bhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana Bhaju man Suraj Bhaju man Chanda Bhaju man Suraj Bhaju man Chanda Bhaju man Pavan Sumit O Bhaju man Pavan Sumit Sumiro man Narayana Bhaju man O Bhaju man Hari Har Haro Sumiro man Narayana भजु मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायणा भज मन सीता भज मन रामा भज मन सीता भज मन रामा ओ हनु हनु हनुमत वीर ओ हनु हनु हनुमत वीर सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण ओ भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन गौरी और गणेशा भज मन गौरी गौरी गणेशा भज मन सती संग शिव ओ भज मन सती संग शिव सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन तुलसी भज मन चंदन भज मन तुलसी भज मन चंदन भज मन गवन के पीठ ओ भज मन गवन के पीठ सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण भज मन हरि हर हर ओम सुमिरो मन नारायण नारायण.
My dear viewers, we are at the corporate segment of Rudraaya, and of course Kamalji welcomes any feedback or any questions that you have for him as well. Please feel free to contact him or send it to us and we will relate it to him. But please feel free to reach out because he's always happy and willing to serve the public. For now, we'll get straight into a corporate segment. Kamalji from Lotus Funeral Home.
Sitaram and Namaste. My name is Kamal Bardwaj and I'm the owner of Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center in Toronto and Kitchener Funeral Homes and Crematorium in Kitchener. I'm also a licensed funeral director. As the COVID cases were rising, many people had to be hospitalized. As the hospital beds were filling up in Toronto, many people were being sent out of town to other hospitals, to places such as London, Kingston, St. Catharines, etc. Now, unfortunately, this was not in the control of families, as they are forced to travel to farther places to possibly see their loved one. If a person passed away at one of these out-of-town hospitals, and their body had to be brought back to Toronto for the funeral home, there would be an additional charge of traveling out of town. But these extra travel charges are not to be paid by the family. The provincial government would be accepting the charges to pay for the extra travel to transfer a deceased person, provided the person passed away from COVID. Please make sure you are not charged an additional fee to transfer from out-of-town hospital for COVID deaths if a person was moved out of Toronto due to a shortage of hospital beds. At Lotus Funeral and Cremation Center and at Kitchener Funeral Homes and Crematorium, we operate 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. Our crematorium is located in our building, so we never have to leave our building in cold weather for cremation. Our crematorium space can have a large group of people to attend the witnessing of the cremation as well. For Hindu families, we can provide all the puja items, including fresh leaves and a havan kund. We have large halls that accommodate large seating to smaller ones. We are centrally located for families in the West and families from the East. For more information, please contact me from the telephone number on the screen. Thank you for watching and see you next week on Rudraaya. Sitaram.
Life is beautiful, but death is inevitable. I realized this when my dad passed away. So much pain, and amidst all this, the worry of arranging a funeral. Thankfully, in all this, Kamal stood by me. From the viewing to the cremation, he arranged it all at one location. Once someone is gone, they don't come back. But Lotus Funeral Home knows how to give them a respectable farewell.
Lotus Funeral Home. Life must be celebrated.
My dear viewers, we've come to the end of another segment of Rudraaya. I hope you've enjoyed today's segment. And of course, please do enjoy these wonderful summer days that we're having. It will soon be gone. So I remind you to get out there and enjoy some of that fresh air. Because pretty soon we'll be locked in again for, the 9 months of winter, which we certainly, I know, I am not looking forward to, and I'm sure you are not as well. So we'd like to thank our kind sponsors at Maharujadip Mandir, as well as our executive producer Gary Khan for making Rudraaya possible. And of course, when we do, of course, I always preach of self-reflection, and sometimes, especially during this pandemic, many have lost their jobs. They sometimes, it's a time for change. It's a time for reflection. It's a time for retrospection. So it's certainly that time when we really have to, sort of reflect on, the things, and it's not a uncommon quote that I would leave with you today, because you know it already. So when one door closes, another opens. But we often look so long and so regretfully upon that closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us. So please remember that the past is the past, and it's great to have a past, but learn from the past and move forward and look forward to the future. So until we meet again, looking forward to the future next week, Saturday, when we meet right here on Rudraaya at 7:30. I would look forward to meeting with you again. And of course, until then, have a blessed week. Take care of yourself. Namaste. Sitaram.
वीरा हनुमाना यति बलवाना राम नाम रसिया रे वीरा हनुमाना यति बलवाना राम नाम रसिया रे हे प्रभु मन बसिया रे ओ हो प्रभु मन बसिया रे वीरा हनुमाना यति बलवाना राम नाम रसिया रे सीताराम जय सीताराम राधे श्याम जय राधे श्याम 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 वीरा हनुमान यति बलवान राम नाम रसिया रे हे प्रभु मन बसिया रे हे रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम हे रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम वीरा हनुमान यति बलवान राम नाम रसिया रे वीरा हनुमान यति बलवान राम नाम रसिया रे हे प्रभु मन बसिया रे ओ हो प्रभु मन बसिया रे हे